The spaceship glided silently above the glowing forests of Lysara, its sleek surface reflecting the iridescent light of the planet below. Captain Alex Carter leaned against the viewport, staring at the sprawling city of crystalline towers that stretched across the horizon. Lysara was unlike any world he had visited before. The air shimmered with energy, and the forests pulsed with strange bioluminescent life. In the distance, streams of water glowed with a soft blue light, weaving like veins through the landscape. Humans rarely came this far, and Alex knew that diplomacy here would be delicate. He had been chosen to represent Earth in negotiations with the Lysaran Empire, a civilization that had existed for thousands of years. Their queen, Thalira, was legendary, intelligent, strong, and feared across the galaxy. Stories told of her sharp mind and her unyielding sense of justice. Few had ever spoken to her directly, and even fewer had left her palace alive and unshaken. Alex felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness as the shuttle descended toward the palace. The landing platform was vast, made of crystalline tiles that seemed to hum softly under his feet. Lysaran guards, tall and imposing, watched him closely. Their armor shimmered in shades of green and gold, and their eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. Despite their alien appearance, Alex felt a strange respect for them. Every movement was precise, disciplined, and purposeful. He straightened his jacket and followed the lead guard into the palace. Inside, the palace was even more breathtaking. Towers of crystal reached toward the ceiling, reflecting light in a kaleidoscope of colors. Gardens floated in midair, held aloft by faint energy fields. Flowers of shapes and colors Alex could not name opened and closed in rhythmic patterns, and streams of water glowed softly as they moved through the halls. The air was filled with a gentle hum, a sound that seemed alive, almost as if the palace itself was breathing. Alex was led to a grand hall where Queen Thalira awaited. She sat on a throne that seemed carved from a single piece of shimmering crystal. Her presence was commanding, even from a distance. She was tall, her skin patterned in delicate scales that glimmered under the light, her eyes like molten gold. Her gaze held both curiosity and caution as she studied him. "Captain Alex Carter," she said, her voice deep and resonant. "You have traveled far. Tell me, why should I trust humans?" Alex bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, humans have not always been perfect, but we value truth, courage, and friendship. I am here to build trust between our worlds. I hope to show you that we can be allies, not enemies." The Queen studied him silently, then nodded slightly. "Words are easy, actions are harder. You will be observed." Alex felt a thrill of both fear and excitement. The Queen's words were not harsh, they were a challenge, and he liked challenges. Later, during a grand feast held in his honor, Alex met Princess Liara, Thalira's daughter. She was unlike her mother, softer, but no less intelligent. Her eyes were bright with curiosity, and her movements were graceful. She had grown up learning about humans through stories of exploration and heroism. For her, Alex was a living example of what she had always imagined humans to be. "You come from a small world," Liara said, speaking softly across the table. "Yet you travel among the stars." "Do humans often take such risks?" Alex smiled. "Some of us do. We are curious, and sometimes that curiosity leads us to danger, but we learn from it and we grow stronger. That is what makes us human." Liara tilted her head, intrigued. "And do humans always speak so boldly to queens?" Alex laughed lightly. "Not always. Sometimes we are too careful, but I believe honesty is stronger than fear." Their conversation continued, moving from politics to philosophy to stories of adventure. Alex noticed that Liara was not just listening. She was learning, testing him, gauging his character. He realized that she had a sharp mind, and he respected her for it. Meanwhile, outside the palace, shadowy figures moved through the streets. A rival faction of Lysarans, jealous of Liara's influence and wary of humans, had plans of their own. They intended to disrupt the negotiations and provoke a misunderstanding that could start a war. Their spies had been watching Alex closely, waiting for the perfect opportunity. The opportunity came sooner than anyone expected. During a private walk in the palace gardens, Alex and Liara spoke freely. He was careful but relaxed, enjoying the soft glow of the floating gardens and the gentle hum of the streams. "Your world is beautiful," Alex said, looking around. "I can see why you are proud of it," Liara smiled. "It is home, but humans, you are different. You take risks we would never consider, and you see things in ways we cannot." Alex hesitated, then spoke carefully. "Liara, if I were allowed to stay here, not just as a guest but as someone who could truly serve and protect this world, I would consider you more than a friend. You could be my wife, in the human sense." He said it lightly, almost jokingly, intending it as a sign of respect and trust, not as a formal claim. He knew human words often had meanings that could be misunderstood elsewhere. But in Lysara, words were precise and customs were strict. Guards and attendants had overheard the exchange, and the news reached Queen Thalira almost instantly. She froze in her throne room, her golden eyes widening. Her body stiffened, her scales glittering in the light. Never before had a human dared to speak in such a way to her daughter or to her. The palace buzzed with whispers. Advisors murmured to each other, unsure of the meaning. Guards exchanged glances, their hands twitching toward their weapons. And Alex, oblivious to the storm he had ignited, continued his conversation with Liara, smiling at her amused expression. Liara leaned closer, her voice quiet. "Did you really just say that?" Alex nodded, still smiling. "Yes, but it's not a claim. It's a human way of showing respect and trust. It means I would honor you and your world if given the chance." Liara laughed softly, shaking her head. "Humans are unpredictable." Word of Alex's remark spread quickly. Rival factions whispered of betrayal and threats. Some saw it as a clever maneuver, others as a grave insult. The palace, usually orderly, became tense and uncertain. Queen Thalira, a figure of composure, had never been confronted with such boldness from a human. She could not understand immediately, her mind racing to decipher the meaning behind Alex's words. Alex, unaware of the growing storm, continued to explore the palace with Liara. They visited halls filled with ancient knowledge, libraries where floating scrolls revealed histories older than most planets. They walked through gardens where flowers responded to their presence, opening and closing as if alive. And all the while, Alex's calm demeanor and sincerity left Liara impressed. She had met diplomats before, but few had the courage to speak honestly and freely, even in delicate situations. By evening, the palace was tense. Queen Thalira summoned her closest advisors. "Explain to me," she said, her voice steady but edged with disbelief. "Did this human truly speak of taking my daughter as his wife?" The advisors shuffled uneasily. "He did, Your Majesty, but it is unclear what he meant. Humans, they have strange customs." Thalira's gaze remained fixed, her mind working quickly. She had faced threats before, rebellions, assassins, political rivalries, but humans were different. Their unpredictability, their courage, their honesty, it was a puzzle she had never encountered. And Alex Carter, standing so calmly in her palace, had stirred something within her, something she did not yet understand. As night fell over Lysara, Alex was escorted to his chambers. He sensed the tension in the palace but could not yet understand the full impact of his words. Outside, shadows moved, spies reporting every detail to rival factions eager to exploit the situation. The seeds of conflict and intrigue had been planted, and the consequences of a single phrase, spoken lightly with honesty, were beginning to ripple through the palace and beyond. Alex sat by the window, looking at the glowing forests below. He knew he had to be careful. One wrong move could spark a war, one misunderstood word could change the future of two worlds. And yet, despite the danger, he felt a thrill. He had always believed that courage and honesty were humanity's greatest strengths, and now, on this alien world, he was about to put them to the ultimate test. Deep in the palace, Queen Thalira remained in her chamber, staring at the stars above. Her mind replayed Alex's words, her heart struggling to reconcile the audacity, the honesty, and the respect behind them. She was frozen, yes, but not in fear. It was curiosity, fascination, and a dawning realization that humans, so unpredictable, so courageous, might be more than she had ever imagined. And in the quiet of the palace night, as Lysara's lights shimmered like distant stars, both human and alien wondered what the coming days would bring. A friendship had been sparked, a misunderstanding had been sown, and the galaxy, vast and full of secrets, was watching closely. The morning sun rose over Lysara, casting a soft glow over the crystalline towers and bioluminescent forests. Captain Alex Carter stood on the balcony of his chambers, gazing at the vibrant city below. The events of the previous day weighed heavily on him. His words, meant as a sign of respect and trust, had triggered shock across the palace. Queen Thalira's silence and the whispered conversations of the advisors reminded him that diplomacy on this planet required delicate precision. Alex's thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime. A messenger arrived, bowing low. "Captain Carter, Princess Liara requests your presence in the gardens." Alex nodded and followed. The gardens were alive with light and color, floating flowers swaying gently as they responded to his presence. Liara waited beside a crystal stream, her eyes bright with amusement. "You have stirred quite the storm," she said quietly. "Your words, they were not subtle." Alex smiled faintly. "I did not mean harm. I spoke as humans speak when they wish to show respect and trust. I did not know it would cause such confusion." Liara laughed softly. "Humans are indeed unpredictable, but there is courage in honesty, and I admire that." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of an advisor, his scales glinting under the morning light. "Princess Liara, Captain Carter," he began cautiously, "Your Majesty requests your presence in the throne room. The situation requires clarification." Alex exchanged a glance with Liara, who nodded. Together, they followed the advisor through the palace corridors. The halls were filled with echoes of whispers and the faint hum of energy that seemed to pulse with every step. The throne room was vast, its walls lined with crystal panels reflecting light like countless tiny stars. Queen Thalira sat upon her throne, her eyes fixed on Alex. Though her expression was composed, there was a tension in her posture that Alex had not seen before. "Captain Carter," she said, her voice calm but commanding, "explain yourself. Did you truly speak of taking my daughter as your wife?" Alex bowed deeply, choosing his words with care. "Your Majesty, I did speak such words, but they were not a claim. In human culture, it is a way of expressing respect and trust, of showing that I would honor and protect someone I hold in high regard. It is not a formal declaration, nor an attempt to take your daughter from you." Thalira's golden eyes narrowed slightly, her mind working to process this explanation. She had faced countless alien diplomats, but humans were different. They were unpredictable, bold, and in some ways frighteningly sincere. "Humans are strange," she murmured, almost to herself. "You speak with honesty, yet your words carry implications we do not fully understand." Alex stepped forward respectfully. "I understand the concern, Your Majesty. I would never act to disrespect your family or your rule. My intentions are honest, and my purpose here is to build trust between our worlds." Liara, standing silently beside him, gave a small nod of encouragement. She understood Alex better than most in the room. His sincerity was evident, and she found his straightforwardness refreshing. The tension in the throne room was palpable. Advisors whispered among themselves, unsure how to interpret the human's behavior. Outside, members of the rival faction watched carefully, hoping to turn this misunderstanding into a political advantage. One of the Queen's senior advisors stepped forward, his voice measured. Your Majesty, the human speaks honestly, but the implications of his words could be exploited. Our rivals will use this to challenge the treaty and create chaos. Thalira's gaze swept over Alex and Liara, then returned to the advisor. I see. Then we must act wisely. Captain Carter, your words have consequences beyond intention. If we are to prevent misunderstanding, we must also uncover the forces seeking to use it against us. Alex nodded. I am willing to help, Your Majesty. Tell me what you need me to do. The Queen considered him carefully. You will assist Liara and myself in uncovering the truth behind these plots. Your perspective as a human may reveal what our eyes alone cannot see. Thus began a tense investigation. Alex and Liara worked together to trace the rival factions' movements. They examined palace records, monitored communications, and spoke discreetly with palace staff who had witnessed suspicious activity. Alex's human ingenuity and ability to think outside rigid protocol proved invaluable. He noticed patterns that others overlooked, subtle changes in the guard rotations, strange messages encoded in the palace's energy network, and fleeting shadows of movement in restricted areas. Meanwhile, Queen Thalira observed closely. She remained cautious but could not hide her growing respect for Alex. His courage, intelligence, and willingness to face danger for the sake of honesty impressed her deeply. Liara's admiration was also clear. She had rarely met anyone, human or Lycaran, who could combine boldness with integrity in such a natural way. Late one evening, as the palace lights shimmered across the floating gardens, Alex and Liara discovered a hidden communication hub used by the rival faction. It was concealed behind a panel of crystal, almost invisible to anyone who did not know where to look. Inside, they found messages detailing a plan to sabotage the treaty by spreading rumors that Alex had formally claimed Liara as his wife, hoping to create a scandal that would fracture the Lycaran court. Alex's jaw tightened. They wanted to turn a misunderstanding into war. Liara's eyes were sharp, and if they succeed, many could suffer. We must act quickly. They reported the findings to Queen Thalira, who listened intently. Her golden eyes shone with both concern and admiration. She had always relied on control, tradition, and power to maintain order. But here was a human whose courage and insight had revealed a danger that even her vast experience had not detected. Captain Carter, she said finally, her voice steady, you have acted with honor and intelligence. You have prevented chaos that could have engulfed our world. For that, you have my gratitude. Alex bowed, though he could not hide a small smile. It was a team effort, Your Majesty. Liara was instrumental in uncovering the truth. Thalira's gaze softened as she looked at her daughter. Liara, you have shown wisdom and courage in this matter. I am proud of you. The Queen then turned her attention back to Alex. Humans are unpredictable, and yet I find that courage and honesty are qualities I respect. You have shown both, Captain Carter. I will allow you greater freedom within the palace, and you may accompany Liara on missions that test her leadership. But know this, your actions are now bound to this world in ways you must never forget. Alex nodded solemnly. I understand, Your Majesty, and I accept the responsibility. Over the following days, Alex and Liara worked closely together. They navigated diplomatic challenges, trained with the palace guards, and studied Lysara's intricate systems of governance and defense. Alex marveled at the alien technology, from energy shields that could cover entire districts to devices that translated thought into light patterns. Liara, in turn, learned from Alex about human resilience, teamwork, and adaptability. Their friendship deepened, grounded in mutual respect and a shared sense of duty. The rival faction, frustrated by the failure of their schemes, grew desperate. They attempted subtle acts of sabotage, hoping to catch Alex off guard. But his alertness, combined with Liara's insight, allowed them to intercept every attempt. Each success strengthened their bond, and their reputation grew among palace officials as the duo who had safeguarded Lysara from internal threat. One evening, as the two walked through a garden bathed in golden light, Liara spoke softly. "Your world fascinates me, Alex. Humans are so different, yet there is a strength in your spirit that is remarkable." Alex smiled. "And Lysara fascinates me. Your people are wise, brave, and capable of great beauty and power. I have learned much from this world and from you." They paused by a floating stream, watching the glowing waters ripple gently. "I never expected to meet someone like you," Liara said. "Someone honest, brave, human." Alex met her gaze, his expression steady. "I never expected to meet someone like you either, someone who can teach me as much as I might teach her." Word of their successes spread throughout the palace. Advisors and officials began to speak of Alex not just as a guest, but as a trusted ally. Queen Thalira, once frozen by shock at his words, now regarded him with cautious admiration. His boldness had not been reckless. It had revealed a new way of thinking, one that combined courage, intelligence, and integrity. By the end of their mission to uncover the rival faction's plot, Alex had not only proven himself, but had also earned a unique place within Lysara's halls. The Queen allowed him to maintain his role as an advisor and protector, a human whose perspective and courage had bridged the gap between two worlds. The story closes on a hopeful note. Alex and Liara, standing together in the palace gardens, watched the bioluminescent forests glow under the night sky. They knew challenges would come, but trust and mutual respect had been established. Humans and Lysarans, once separated by distance and misunderstanding, now had a bridge forged by honesty, courage, and friendship. And somewhere in the depths of her palace, Queen Thalira considered the human who had dared to call her daughter his wife in jest, realizing that perhaps unpredictability, bravery, and honesty were strengths even she could admire.